dive into a truly extraordinary, and I have to say, highly controversial document. Illuminati 2, Deceit and Subduction by Henry Makow, PhD.
Hmm.
This isn't just an article or, a research paper. It's a full-length book that lays out a very specific and intricate theory of how he believes the world truly operates, far beneath the surface.
What's fascinating here is that Makow presents this book not just as a theory, but as a foundational text for understanding hidden power structures that he believes govern everything around us.
Right.
Our mission in this deep dive is to methodically extract the most important nuggets of knowledge or insight from this particular source, helping you understand the very specific narrative it constructs, the claims it makes, and the astonishing connections it purports to reveal.
Yeah, some really wild connections.
It's designed to offer you a shortcut to being well-informed about a worldview that fundamentally challenges conventional understanding. And we'll walk through it just as the text presents it, exactly as it's laid out.
Exactly. This deep dive is custom-tailored for you, the curious learner, who wants to grasp complex knowledge quickly but thoroughly. Prepare for some truly surprising facts, or at least surprising claims, and a deep dive into a perspective that aims to explain the raw truth behind global events and societal shifts. It's quite a journey.
It really is. Buckle up.
To begin, Makow starts his entire book with a deeply personal account, what he calls his overture, detailing his own transformation. He describes a journey from what he terms a liberal Zionist feminist perspective, a very specific worldview, to a state he calls being deprogrammed.
Deprogrammed, yeah.
It's a profound shift, and he claims it occurred after he encountered what he refers to as Illuminati gatekeepers. This, he says, opened his eyes.
And during this process, he also asserts a rather striking philosophical discovery. He claims that existentialism, the philosophical movement emphasizing individual existence, freedom, that it inherently promotes an immoral order.
An immoral order. How so?
Well, for Makow, this isn't just a philosophical disagreement. He views it as subversive because, in his interpretation, it actively denies God and subverts human nature. He found himself, as he recounts, in a state of deep confusion and believed that meaning and identity eluded him until he devoted his master's thesis to learning about a writer named Frederick Philip Grove,
Okay.
whose work, he claims, offered a vision of an inherently moral order. So that was his counterpoint.
So this personal narrative is absolutely crucial because it sets the stage for the book's entire core premise. Makow explicitly presents the Protocols of the Elders of Zion as the foundational text that provided him with insight into what he calls the unacknowledged power controlling the modern world.
Right, and that's a key point. For many, the protocols are seen as, a notorious anti-Semitic hoax.
Absolutely, widely debunked.
But within Makow's framework, this document is presented as the key. It's foundational to his whole argument.
So this unacknowledged power,
Yeah.
where does he say it comes from?
Precisely. Within Makow's framework, this power is unequivocally attributed to a central banking cartel. And he doesn't stop there. He further identifies this cartel as comprising Satanists, Kabbalist Jews, referring to followers of a mystical, often esoteric Jewish tradition that Makow explicitly links to their agenda, and Freemasons.
Wow, that's quite a coalition.
He posits that these entities are orchestrating the world as a vast theater, a grand illusion meticulously designed to manipulate and control humanity for their own ends.
A theater. So if the world is a theater, what's the alleged purpose of this elaborate hidden play? According to the source, its primary objective is to contrive profit and power for this hidden cabal.
Makes sense if you follow the logic.
And the mechanism for this, he describes, is the engineering of debt and wars for reconstruction. The book even provides a historical example, mentioning the alleged financial manipulation of 19th century Ukrainian farmers who were supposedly ensnared in cycles of debt and loans that benefited these hidden controllers.
And what Makow emphasizes throughout the book are the prevailing tools for this global orchestration: deceit and seduction. These are presented as the Illuminati's primary means for monopolizing thought and communication, ultimately to achieve their purported goal: a new world order.
The classic New World Order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a world where, Makow claims, they fundamentally believe God does not exist and they allegedly worship Lucifer. It's a complete inversion of traditional spiritual values as he presents it.
And this provocative worldview, according to Makow, deeply resonates with some readers. He highlights Amazon reviews that describe the book as offering an enlightening glimpse into hidden forces, something that cuts through all the BS, and a work replete with hard-hitting facts, so it clearly strikes a chord with some people.
From this perspective, the book contends that modernity itself, as we understand it, is a hoax, specifically designed to deny God and subvert human nature. Humanity, in this framework, becomes a human experiment, destined to be corrupted and controlled, unable to resist this external force. Because, as the book asserts, humans are portrayed as too corrupt or feckless to maintain control over their own destiny. It truly presents an all-encompassing, intricate, and deeply cynical narrative about humanity's place in the world.
Absolutely. Very bleak. Diving deeper into what Makow calls the deceptive foundations of this worldview, he starts with the truly chilling concept of satanic possession. He claims that Illuminati bankers achieved unparalleled control over global credit by what he terms finessing the ability to literally create money out of nothing. It's a very bold assertion.
Extremely bold. And this perceived power over creation and control over wealth, Makow posits, led them to believe they had the right to act as God.
Right, the ultimate hubris.
This idea is presented as the dark underpinning of their entire alleged agenda. Building on this, the asserted goal of these Illuminati bankers is nothing less than to overthrow Western Christian civilization. The book explicitly claims this is achieved through occult, criminal, and perverted behavior.
He even cites a specific example, an alleged 1936 B'nai B'rith meeting where a social order was supposedly discussed. The objective of this proposed order, according to Makow, was to establish a world where dignity is uprooted and where Western civilization's values are systematically dismantled.
Yeah, dignity uprooted. It's a stark phrase.
The book asserts that humanity is doomed to failure in resisting this agenda. Described as being too corrupt or feckless to break free from this external control, it paints a very bleak picture of our collective agency.
It really does. From this, Makow transitions into what he terms the Masonic matrix, presenting Freemasonry as the central method for the Kabbalistic Jewish elite to infiltrate Gentiles and expand their influence.
So Freemasonry isn't just a fraternal group in this view.
Not at all. It's described not just as a fraternal organization, but as an Illuminati elite secret society within Freemasonry. What we commonly understand as the Enlightenment, a period celebrated for reason and progress, is redefined within Makow's narrative.
How so?
It's framed as a movement that refers to Lucifer as the rebel angel and light bringer, suggesting a hidden, darker meaning behind foundational historical advancements. The light isn't divine light, it's Lucifer's light, according to this text.
So what's asserted here is that these bankers didn't just operate in the shadows. Makow claims they actively promoted great men throughout the modern world, people we might admire.
Exactly. The purpose of elevating these figures, according to the source, was to subvert human reality away from God and natural order. To underscore this point, Makow repeatedly cites the Protocols of the Elders of Zion as his primary evidence. Again, that text keeps coming up. He claims that seemingly disparate phenomena like war, Marxism, Nietzscheism are all designed to Jew us, at any rate, implying a coordinated, multi-pronged effort to undermine and control society through various ideologies and conflicts.
Wow.
It's a very broad sweep, bringing together everything under a single hidden agenda as presented in the book. Hashtag 1.3 My Enlightenment and the Faux Society.
In a section titled My Enlightenment, Makow recounts what he describes as his profound personal realization that government, media, and education, the very pillars of society, were actively sabotaging society.
Actively sabotaging, quite a claim.
He contends that these institutions achieved this by eagerly embracing feminist and Illuminist propaganda, with a particular emphasis, he says, on sexual liberation.
This, he argues, led to widespread confusion and a fundamental disorientation within society regarding gender roles and natural identity. He claims this embrace of propaganda was a deliberate strategy to dismantle societal foundations. And expanding on this, Makow makes the bold assertion that gender itself has been systemed as a man, implying a systematic distortion of natural gender roles.
Systemed as a man, that's an unusual phrase. Furthermore, he claims that major global events like 9/11 and the subsequent bogus war on terror were not spontaneous occurrences. Instead, he portrays them as fact in deliberate history, meticulously planned as part of a planned long-term Satanist conspiracy to degrade and enslave humanity.
Deliberate history. So pre-planned events.
It's a very grim picture.
Within this dark worldview, humanity is portrayed as mere puppets being manipulated, with world leaders serving as nothing more than banker frontmen, essentially intermediaries for the true controllers.
Just faces for the real power. Exactly. This leads us to the concept of the faux society, where the Illuminati allegedly initiate individuals into Satanism by promoting what Makow calls Luciferian reality.
The book posits that under this system, mainstream institutions like the media don't pay lip service to their stated goals. Instead, their stated objectives are merely a facade, a public face.
Just window dressing.
It's claimed that traditional forms and structures within society are subtly perverted from their original beneficial purposes to serve the Illuminati's hidden agenda.
This claim is supported in the source by a quote from Paul Craig Roberts, who, according to the book, stated that the American corporate media does not serve the truth. And Makow introduces the term nomenklatura, typically associated with the Soviet Communist Party's elite.
Right, the Soviet term.
He redefines it as a term for second-rate people who betray their neighbors. These individuals are presented as the very leaders and dupes, who, whether knowingly or unknowingly, hide a layer of dupes who help maintain the fraud, perpetuating the overarching deception.
Layers of dupes.
It paints a picture of a society built on layers of hidden manipulation and control from the top down. Very intricate. Hashtag 1.4 deception, origins, and historical context.
So, stepping back to the broader mechanics of this alleged global control, Makow repeatedly asserts that deceit is the fundamental watchword of the Illuminati. They were said to operate through a strategy of make-believe and the systematic use of lies, a tactic the book claims is extensively detailed, again, in the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Always back to the protocols. Makow then draws alleged connections between established American institutions, specifically citing investigations by the U.S. Congress Reese Committee and the funding activities of the Carnegie Endowment.
Okay, the Reese Committee and Carnegie.
He suggests their involvement in social engineering and a covert move towards a collectivist form of government. This implies a hidden agenda at the highest levels of power, subverting democratic principles and directing society towards a predetermined outcome.
Furthering the argument about control, the source details claims about the Federal Reserve, presenting it as an entity with immense, almost unchecked power.
A central player in this view.
It cites Joshua Rosner, an analyst quoted in the source, who states that the Federal Reserve has a lock on the economics world and is allegedly responsible for the credit meltdown, asserting that there is no room for other views within this sphere.
So, total control of economics, no dissent allowed, that's the claim. Makow then meticulously traces the origins of the Illuminati, stating that while the original order was suppressed, it was renewed in 1776 by the Rothschild banking syndicate.
1776, same year as the U.S. Declaration of Independence. Interesting timing claim there.
And a truly significant claim follows. He asserts that this powerful syndicate officially took over Freemasonry in the 1780s, cementing their alleged influence over a vast network of secret societies and individuals, integrating them into their larger scheme.
Wow, taking over Freemasonry itself. And to connect these seemingly disparate threads, the source delves into the Rothschild bankers' alleged connection to a secret satanic Jewish sect, the Sabbatine Frankists.
Yes, the Sabbatine Frankists. This sect, the book claims, believed that liberated sexual practices, including what Makow describes as incest, pedophilia, etc., were crucial for the Messiah's return, a concept that the source portrays as inherently perverse and designed to corrupt.
That's extremely disturbing.
The historical context is further extended to the Middle Ages, with Makow implying the alleged role of Jewish bankers and merchants in shifting wealth and power, including their alleged involvement in the formation and trade of the Venetian Empire.
So tracing it way back.
Way back. The book implies that the Crown, specifically identified as the shareholders of the Bank of England, represents the Illuminati's modern embodiment. And chillingly, it states that churches will be used to teach the Jews' religion, suggesting a complete subversion of religious institutions to serve this purported agenda of global control.
Using churches to teach another religion. That's quite an accusation. Moving into what Makow describes as the heart of the Illuminati's alleged tools of control, he makes a striking assertion right off the bat, that prominent American founding fathers, such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, were not just historical figures, but were, in fact, Freemasons.
Yeah, that's often noted historically, but he takes it much further.
Exactly. This is presented as far more than a historical footnote. For Makow, it's absolutely central to the book's entire narrative about hidden influence.
He claims that Freemasonry itself is nothing less than the Church of Lucifer. And while it publicly presents itself as a mystical philanthropic order, its true aim, he asserts, is to clandestinely advance a new world order.
The Church of Lucifer.
To reinforce this, Makow includes a quote from Manly P. Hall, presented as an expert on esoteric traditions, who allegedly said that Freemasonry's purpose was to perfect the plan of the ages, setting up here the machinery for a world brotherhood of nations and races. Sounds noble on the surface, but
But in this context, it sounds ominous. So the book claims that Freemasons were directly involved in drafting the Constitution and signing the Declaration of Independence. While these actions are widely seen as promoting civil liberties and equal opportunity, Makow asserts that these public-facing ideals concealed far deeper and more sinister agendas.
Right, serving as a clever cover for their true hidden objectives. This then leads into the concept of Masonic America. Makow suggests that the very establishment of the 13 colonies, despite their intense rivalries and long-standing antagonisms, was part of a coordinated Masonic effort.
Coordinated across rival colonies.
That's the claim. He claims that Masonic leaders flowed seamlessly from Georgia to Massachusetts, indicating a unified underlying structure. It's a bold claim of pervasive influence.
And he pushes this further, asserting that George Washington's entire staff consisted of Masons. He even alleges a curious degree of coordination between Masonic leaders within both the U.S. and British armies during the Revolutionary War.
Which seems counterintuitive, right? Armies fighting each other.
Exactly, implying a level of control that transcended traditional allegiances. It's as if, from his perspective, both sides were working for the same unseen masters.
To underscore this alleged coordination, Makow points to Lord Cornwallis, the British general, who famously surrendered at Yorktown, asserting that he was, in fact, an Illuminati shareholder of the Bank of England.
Cornwallis, a shareholder.
That's the connection made in the book, used to imply that even the opposing forces were ultimately controlled by the same hidden hand. The claim is reiterated here that churches will be used to teach the Jews religion, and that Judaism will permeate all other religions, subtly twisting their doctrines to fit a globalist agenda.
And McCarthy gets mentioned too.
And finally, Makow briefly references a 1956 speech by Senator Joseph McCarthy, who allegedly spoke of a veiled phallic religion, implying a long-standing hidden pagan influence within American society, linking it to these foundational conspiracies. Hashtag tag 2.2 Freemasons stage political theater.
Building on that foundation, Makow next delves into how he claims Freemasons signal their world control through subtle cues like specific handshakes and gestures, almost like a secret language in plain sight.
Yeah, the secret signs and symbols idea.
He then introduces Stephen Knight's book, The Brotherhood, which Makow himself describes as depicting Masonry not as a benign fraternal organization, but as a vicious satanic cult, secretly led by Lucifer.
What's particularly striking here, as Makow presents it, is the fate of Stephen Knight. The book asserts that he was allegedly poisoned and died just 2 years after publishing The Brotherhood, implying a direct consequence for exposing this information.
Wow, that's a serious allegation.
Makow then claims that UK politics, far from being a genuine democratic process, is a charade quietly controlled by Lucifer's disciples. He makes the astonishing claim that 500,000 Masons in England exert control over the government, police, and banks, effectively rendering the UK a Masonic tyranny.
500,000 controlling everything. It's a pretty comprehensive claim of control. And Makow then highlights what he calls the irony of this elaborate deception, that low-rank Masons are purportedly unaware of the deeper Luciferian agenda being orchestrated by their leadership.
Just cogs in the machine, unaware.
He describes an alleged Jewish conspiracy working through a Gentile establishment to dupe these unwitting members, ultimately to control money and the global economy. This paints a picture of a layered conspiracy where even those involved are not fully privy to the true aims.
To illustrate this alleged control over finance, Makow mentions a BBC video of former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson purportedly using a triangulation sign, a pyramid formed with his fingers, during an economic discussion.
Paulson making a pyramid sign.
That's how it's presented, as a subtle Masonic or Illuminati signal in plain view. Makow further claims Illuminati influence directly correlates with the increase in national debt during the Obama administration, asserting that U.S. national debt is now over $40,000 per citizen.
Linking debt directly to this influence.
This is framed as a deliberate strategy by central bankers to enslave nations through debt, linking political events to their overarching financial manipulation. Hashtag tag 2.3 Freemasonry is based on the Kabbalah.
Our deep dive now brings us to the assertion that Freemasonry is fundamentally based on the Kabbalah, a mystical tradition. Within this source, enlightenment is dramatically redefined, not as a period of human progress and reason, but as a resurgence of an ancient satanic pagan fertility cult.
Wow, that's quite the redefinition.
The book claims this cult involves a dedication to Lucifer, explicitly stating that Lucifer is not God, but a distinct, malevolent entity central to this alleged dark spirituality.
Makow cites David Livingstone's research on Kabbalah. claiming that Jews adopted paganism in Babylon and appropriated the worship of a dying god, Lucifer.
A dying god.
Yeah, Kabbalah itself is portrayed as an ancient pagan mythology where Lucifer, characterized as the god ego, eventually defeats God and comes to rule the universe. This presents a radical inversion of traditional religious narratives,
Right.
where evil triumphs over good and the divine order is overthrown.
The concept is further detailed, portraying Lucifer as the offspring of the father god and his wife, the goddess, with the son then embodying a dying god. This Kabbalism is explicitly described as a sex cult, intrinsically tied to the cycle of the seasons, allegedly involving incestuous mating for fertility.
It gets very graphic.
The source claims that this blood covenant includes demonic spiritual manifestations and that Lucifer demands human sacrifices. It's a profoundly disturbing set of assertions.
Makow then delves into what he calls ritual sacrifice. Orgies characterize Illuminati, citing the testimony of a defector named Mary Ann, whom we'll hear more from later. Her account supposedly confirms practices such as satanic occult domination and a sinister plan for a new world order and the elimination of Islam.
Elimination of Islam, too.
Within this Kabbalist view, God is described as having no attributes, and Satan is paradoxically presented as moral, thereby rendering distinctions between good and evil as false. It's a complete moral inversion.
This intricate web connects to what Makow calls Freemasonry and the clash of civilizations, where various ancient philosophies, Greek, Egyptian, and Platonic, are alleged to have combined to form Kabbalism. The ultimate goal of the Illuminati and Freemasonry, as the source claims, is to supplant Christian authority and to create secular societies.
But the secularism isn't neutral, right?
Exactly. The secularism, however, is not presented as religious neutrality, but as a mask for the resurgence of Kabbalah, paganism, and Satanism, a path that the book asserts will ultimately lead to the rule of the Antichrist. Hashtag 2.4, the bull, the black skull and bones. Our next focus brings us to a specific organization. The Bull, which Makow identifies as the first African-American Greek secret society, formed in Philadelphia in 1904. The controversial claim presented here is that the Illuminati allegedly utilized the bull as a tool to seduce Black Americans, thereby extending their influence and facilitating vast credit expansion for war.
So using it to control that community and for war funding?
Suggesting a calculated strategy to exploit and control various demographic groups.
Makow describes the Bull's structure as comprising over 5,000 archons, who are the male members, and their wives, the arkuses. This group, according to the source, represents the wealthiest Black people globally.
The Black elite.
The Bull is portrayed as a satanic global elite that maintains control through blackmail, operating with a pyramid structure where, similar to other alleged secret societies in Makow's narrative, lower ranks are purportedly unaware of the true, deeper agenda of the organization.
Always the pyramid, the unaware lower ranks. The source delves into what it calls the remaking of the House Negro, a deeply provocative claim asserting that the Bull was designed to produce a group of Blacks who had a vested interest in protecting the Illuminati elite.
That's incredibly charged language.
It implies a deliberate social engineering effort to create a subservient class among African Americans, aligning their interests with the alleged Illuminati agenda. It's a very pointed and controversial historical reinterpretation.
Under the Redatory Intention section, Makow cites Bobby Hemmett on Black Elite's Skull and Bones membership as evidence of this alleged infiltration. He presents Steve Coakley's claim that professional Blacks are Bull members, and then proceeds to name prominent figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, Bill Cosby, Al Sharpton, and Thurgood Marshall as alleged members.
Naming names.
Very specific.
The book also details how the Bull allegedly encourages homosexuality as part of initiation practices.
And these misdeeds committed during these initiations are then supposedly used as bargaining tools in what the source terms an ultimate game, a method of perpetual blackmail to ensure loyalty and obedience to the Illuminati elite.
Control through compromise. This portrays a deeply manipulative system. A reader comment cited in the source describes Bull members as house slaves for Freemasonry, acting as managers for the masters.
Our slaves.
Makow then moves to the chilling allegation that Africa is on a depopulation spiral due to bioweapons deliberately infiltrated into vaccines, leading to widespread death and disease. Bioweapons in vaccines.
The source goes as far as to claim that Africa wants badly enough to kill all Africans, suggesting a deliberate agenda of genocide on the continent, all linked back to this purported Illuminati control. It's an extreme claim. Hashtag 2.5 Boy Scouts model of Masonic subversion.
This deep dive next explores what Makow presents as a truly startling premise. That the Boy Scouts of America, an organization known for upholding the concept of God and historically banning homosexuals and atheists, has purportedly been subverted by Freemasonry with the alleged aim of promoting homosexuality.
Subverting the Boy Scouts. That's unexpected.
This claims a deliberate infiltration and redirection of a traditionally wholesome institution.
Makow specifically identifies the Order of the Arrow as a Masonic secret society operating within the BSA itself. He highlights what he sees as a profound contradiction between the BSA website's public promotion of duty to God and being morally straight, versus what he describes as discriminatory court cases and the alleged deeper agenda.
So a public face versus a hidden reality.
This suggests a facade of traditional values masking a more subversive reality. The book then makes highly controversial claims about the founder of the Boy Scouts, Baden-Powell, alleging he had a homosexual and pedophile background.
Attacking the founder himself.
This assertion is used to underpin the idea that the organization had subversive roots from its very inception. Furthermore, Makow claims extensive Masonic influence within scouting organizations, not just in the U.S., but globally, in the UK, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, suggesting a global reach for this alleged subversion.
Elaborating on the Order of the Arrow, Makow frames it as a mechanism for Lucifer to recruit mankind via deception and seduction, reaffirming Freemasonry as the Church of Lucifer.
Right, tying it back to that core claim. He delves into claims by John Salsa, who purportedly states that BSA initiation rituals involve a blood covenant and demonic spiritual manifestations.
Blood covenants in the Boy Scouts.
These claims paint a picture of youth being unknowingly inducted into a dark spiritual pact, completely hidden from public view.
Ultimately, Makow concludes this section with the assertion that youth are being inducted into an occult secret society by stealth, transforming a seemingly innocent organization into a conduit for dark purposes. He claims that society itself is satanically possessed, and that the Illuminati intend to degrade mankind and deliver us to Lucifer, portraying the Boy Scouts as a tragic example of this pervasive hidden agenda.
It's a very stark warning presented there. Hashtag TechTech 2.6 is the Pope a Catholic.
Our journey into Makow's world next tackles a deeply controversial question, one that forms an entire section title. Is the Pope a Catholic? Makow opens with the assertion that the protocols of the Elders of Zion specifically predicted the destruction of the papal court.
Another protocol prediction.
He then draws a connection between Pope John Paul II's stated goals for a new world order and the objectives of the United Nations, implying an alignment that, within Makow's narrative, points to a broader, hidden agenda.
To support this, Piers Compton's book, The Broken Cross, is cited as claiming that the papacy was subverted by the Illuminati in 1958. Specifically with the election of Pope John XXIII.
Subverted in 58.
This subversion, according to Makow, is linked to the Illuminati's alleged establishment in 1776 and their subsequent takeover of Freemasonry in the 1780s, forming a continuous line of alleged control over powerful institutions through centuries.
Makow further details the claim that the Rothschild family, a powerful banking dynasty, financially backed Adam Weishaupt, the historical founder of the Illuminati.
The Rothschild connection again.
This financial link is presented as critical to the Illuminati's power and its ability to influence major world events. He then claims that a core aim of the Illuminati is to destroy the Catholic Church's religious zeal, effectively weakening its spiritual authority to pave the way for their own agenda.
To illustrate this alleged subversion, Makow references Pope Leo XIII's 1892 encyclical, contrasting its defense of the true Church of Jesus Christ with the Illuminati's purported satanic aims. He also brings up Malachi Martin's prediction that the Catholic Church would no longer be recognizable by 2000, implying that the changes within the Church were not organic, but part of a deliberate, hidden plan for transformation.
The book continues by asserting that Pope Paul VI, Giovanni Montini, was allegedly a Freemason. This claim is bolstered by his historic speech to the United Nations on human rights, which, within Makow's framework, is seen as an act of compromise with globalist forces.
So speaking to the UN is seen as a Masonic compromise.
The Lucis Trust, formerly known as Lucifer Trust, and located at 120 Wall Street, and its publications are also cited as part of this network, implying a direct link between the Vatican and organizations with purported Luciferian ties.
The broken cross symbol, allegedly embraced by Pope Paul VI, is highlighted as a specific symbol used by Satanists, further cementing the claims of occult influence. Makow alleges that Paul VI abolished the anti-modernist oath and revised canon laws, actions portrayed as systematically dismantling traditional church defenses against secularism.
Undoing traditional protections.
Furthermore, an article in the Borghese is mentioned, purportedly printing a list of 125 Freemasons within the Vatican, suggesting a widespread infiltration at the highest levels.
125 alleged Masons in the Vatican. The narrative then points to Pope John Paul I's sudden death, linking it to alleged financial shenanigans within the Vatican, implying foul play and a cover-up to protect the secrets of this infiltration.
Always the hint of conspiracy around sudden deaths.
Pope John Paul II, Karol Wojtyla, is controversially described as committed left-winger and even a communist pope, further suggesting the Church's alleged departure from traditional values under his leadership.
The section concludes with Makow's assertion that traditional Catholic teachings are being watered down, leading to the decaying of the Church. The book presents a stark dichotomy. Either cling to God and traditional faith, or the alternative, as Makow sees it, is to become Lucifer's slave, indicating that this alleged subversion is leading humanity towards a forced choice between spiritual paths, ultimately aligning with the Illuminati's goal.
A very bleak choice presented there. Hashtag 2.7, the Illuminati Christian imposter. Our deep dive next examines the controversial figure of Tony Blair, particularly his presence at the 2009 National Prayer Breakfast in Washington. Makow highlights his quote, "In surrendering to God, we become instruments of his love," and immediately contrasts it with his alleged actions as a world leader.
That juxtaposition is key.
This juxtaposition is used to frame Blair as an Illuminati Christian imposter, someone whose public persona masks a darker, hidden agenda.
The book claims that Blair's true role is to usurp Christian leadership, effectively serving as a tool for the Illuminati to infiltrate and undermine religious authority. It further alleges that both Tony Blair and former U.S. President George W. Bush are sociopaths, directly holding them responsible for the deaths of 1 million Iraqis.
Sociopaths. Strong language.
Reader comments cited in the source explicitly question Blair's Christian faith due to these alleged actions, reflecting the strong sentiment presented in the text.
Makow continues by detailing Blair's role as a UN Middle East peace envoy, asserting that his rhetoric of God's love was used as a deceptive justification for engaging in war. He claims Blair is a closet Catholic who, despite his public image, was instrumental in legalizing gay marriage in the UK.
So using God talk for war, legalizing gay marriage, it's presented as contradictory.
Furthermore, he alleges that through false flag terrorism, his actions transformed the UK into a police state, suggesting a deliberate erosion of civil liberties under the guise of security.
Building on these claims, Makow mentions that the Illuminati allegedly decided to overthrow the Catholic Church, citing Bishop Williamson, a figure known for his traditionalist views, as corroborating this assertion.
Bishop Williamson backing this up.
The book also details Blair's alleged vow of poverty, contrasting it with his reported wealth, and connects him to prominent globalists like George Soros and Bill Gates, implying a network of powerful individuals working towards a unified agenda for global control.
The source then broadens its scope, alleging the Illuminati's intention to use religion itself as a tool to facilitate their world tyranny. This is supposedly achieved through their influence over powerful institutions, specifically naming Yale University's schools of management and divinity as organizations used to advance their globalist agenda.
Using elite universities. The conclusion drawn in this section is that Satan's dispensation operates behind a facade of Christianity, with the Illuminati acting as Satanists whose ultimate aim is to destroy religion and actively promote Lucifer.
So a fake Christianity hiding the real agenda.
Blair's rhetoric, particularly his use of seemingly benevolent terms to justify controversial actions, is explicitly labeled as classic Orwellian doublespeak. The book concludes this segment with the implication that figures like Blair are tasked with discrediting God, Jesus, Christianity, and true religion, suggesting a spiritual war waged through political means.
Our deep dive into the book now brings us to the highly controversial figure of Bill Gates. Makow begins by highlighting Warren Buffett's substantial $31 billion gift to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, immediately drawing a connection between Gates and the alleged anti-Semitic and pagan Lucis Trust.
Straight away, linking the philanthropy to Lucis Trust.
This sets the stage for a discussion implying a hidden, sinister affiliation behind seemingly philanthropic endeavors.
Makow explains that Lucifer Publishing Company, founded in 1922, famously changed its name to Lucis Trust and is located at 120 Wall Street. This organization is portrayed as central to a satanic cult with the aim of controlling the Western world and is explicitly credited with starting the New Age movement.
Lucifer Publishing becoming Lucis Trust.
The name change itself is presented as a deceptive maneuver to hide its true Luciferian origins and purpose.
The book cites Alice Bailey, a prominent figure in the Theosophical Society, and Constance Cumby as sources for these alleged connections between Gates and the Lucis Trust. It then delves into Bailey's highly controversial 1949 claims, as presented in the source, which characterize the Jewish Holocaust as bad karma for Jews.
Wow, blaming the victims. That's appalling.
Furthermore, Bailey is alleged to have taught that Jews originate from a different solar system, while Orientals and blacks are from a different root race, injecting highly offensive and racially charged theories into the discussion.
Makow's narrative, the Gates Foundation's funding to the poor in third world countries, is suspiciously scrutinized, with the claim that it is primarily channeled through vaccine initiatives.
The vaccine connection again.
This is presented not as philanthropy, but as a means to an end. Makow alleges that Gates has a direct connection to the Lucis Trust website and is involved with a group called the New Group of World Servers, listing prominent figures like Nelson Mandela, Cindy Sheehan, and Michael Moore as members, implying they are all part of this larger hidden agenda.
Makow further elaborates on the core belief of the Theosophical Society, which he claims fundamentally believes that Lucifer is God. In this inverted theological framework, the serpent of Genesis, traditionally seen as the tempter, is reinterpreted as the real creator.
So the serpent is the good guy, essentially.
Presenting a direct challenge to mainstream Abrahamic faiths and portraying Lucifer as the true divine entity.
The book details various hidden agendas attributed to the Illuminati, linking seemingly disparate global concerns under a single nefarious umbrella. These include environmental concerns, world hunger, abortion, artificial insemination, forced limitation of family size, genetic control, and even death control.
All part of the plan.
All of these are presented as components of a covert plan to manipulate and control the global population under the guise of progress or public good.
To reinforce the deep-seated connections, Makow recalls a 2006 statement by Warren Buffett, as presented in a book, where he purportedly mentioned that Gates is a student of many of the same philanthropists as John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie,
suggesting a lineage of hidden agendas in philanthropy.
This suggests a generational transfer of a specific philanthropic philosophy, implying a continuity of a hidden agenda through powerful families.
The section concludes with Makow's assertion that feminism, despite its public aims, is primarily designed to get women into the workplace and paying taxes, and that championing women's rights is ultimately intended to make women independent of men.
So feminism is just about taxes and breaking up families?
The book's overall conclusion regarding this section is that communism itself is merely a banker's communist hoax, and that the entire New Age movement is an insidious hidden agenda, implying a grand, multifaceted deception by the Illuminati aimed at controlling society through both economic and social means. Hashtag 2.9 when pedophile judges fear exposure.
We now move to an exceptionally disturbing set of claims presented in Makow's source. The assertion of a secret network of traitors, pedophiles, Satanists, and criminals who allegedly masquerade as judges and police chiefs.
That's a horrifying claim, right at the heart of the justice system.
This deeply unsettling claim posits that these individuals are integrated into the very fabric of law enforcement and justice, and that Freemasons purportedly wield immense power over mass media and government, enabling them to impose their tyranny globally.
Makow then details specific cases he presents as evidence, naming Renate Andres Auger, Jack Cram, and Bruce Clark, who are described as Vancouver lawyers allegedly involved in the sex trade.
Vancouver lawyers.
To bolster these claims, he mentions City Confidential and UNESCO for purportedly naming Vancouver a top 3 center for sex trafficking and child pornography, thereby linking these specific cases to a broader, recognized problem.
The narrative takes an even darker turn with the allegation from a defector named Mary Ann. She claims that her Illuminati father loaned her out for sexual exploitation and that other high-profile Illuminati members were involved, shockingly naming Hillary Clinton and Vince Foster in these deeply troubling activities.
Naming Clinton and Foster. That's incredibly explosive.
This attempts to tie the alleged network directly to the highest levels of political power, extending the conspiracy into the halls of government.
The allegations become even more severe. Mary Ann's testimony, as presented in the source, provides a chilling list of alleged Illuminati activities: bestiality, sodomy, necrophilia, incest, child porn.
Just horrific acts listed there.
Furthermore, Makow asserts that the real origin of MKUltra, the infamous CIA mind control program, relates to figures like Hugh Hefner, Larry Flint, and Roman Polanski. connecting these entertainment and cultural figures to alleged ritualistic trauma and abuse.
Hefner, Flint, Polanski linked to MKUltra.
The conclusion drawn in this section is equally grim. Makow asserts that the Illuminati actively used native leadership to confiscate Aboriginal land and to operate drug trafficking and pedophile rings within these communities.
Exploiting native communities, too.
This implies a deliberate exploitation and corruption of indigenous leaders for nefarious purposes, further expanding the alleged reach of this hidden network into vulnerable populations, leaving no aspect of society untouched by these claims. Hashtag tag 2.10 defector says Illuminati sacrifice children.
Building on the previous section's unsettling claims, this part of Makow's source opens with a stark and horrific allegation from Marianne, the supposed defector. She claims that the Illuminati engage in the ritualistic sacrifice of children, performing these ceremonies 8 times a year at specific points in the calendar such as the autumn equinox and Easter.
Child sacrifice. It's hard to even process that claim, presented as fact in the book.
This is presented as a fundamental aspect of their practice, deeply embedded in their alleged rituals.
Makow elaborates on the alleged Satanist belief that they gain power directly from killing, viewing these acts as a source of strength. He claims that children are either bred for the purpose of sacrifice, meaning they are born into this horrific destiny, or they are kidnapped to be used in these rituals.
Bred or kidnapped. Just awful.
This paints a picture of a systematic and brutal exploitation of the innocent, designed to fuel their power, according to this source.
Marianne's testimony, as presented in the book, details how Illuminati members allegedly lead double lives. By day, they operate in mainstream professions: medicine, education, psychology, banking, law enforcement, government, technology, military, charities, and religion, while by night, they engage in these satanic rituals.
The respectable professional by day, Satanist by night.
This implies a pervasive, hidden infiltration across virtually all sectors of society, with these individuals maintaining a deceptive facade.
The source asserts that these individuals are part of elite Freemasonry and are often generational Satanists, meaning they are born into it, inheriting their dark practices. It further claims that the Illuminati exert control over numerous government figures, explicitly stating that 80–90% of the House of Representatives and 100% of the Senate belong to the Illuminati.
80 to 90% of the House, 100% of the Senate.
Yep.
Basically total control claimed there.
This alleged control extends to leaders in the Vatican, Russia, China, and Iran, suggesting a truly global network of influence.
Makow also attributes various major societal shifts to the Illuminati's influence. He claims they are behind the homosexual agenda, the spread of AIDS, and the broader sexual revolution.
Linking AIDS and the sexual revolution to them.
These are presented as deliberate efforts to foster rebellion against the Christian God, implying a systematic dismantling of traditional morality and religious faith to achieve their objectives.
The conclusion drawn by Makow from this defector's testimony is profound. He states that the primary responsibility of government is to prevent a fanatical cult from controlling it. However, the alarming assertion is made that current governments themselves are infiltrated and controlled by these satanic cults.
So the government itself is the cult, basically.
Effectively presenting a world where those in power are actively working against the well-being of the populace, from his perspective.
Our deep dive next takes us to the infamous Bohemian Grove, a location that Makow claims is a meeting place for a Satanist cult, comprising political, corporate, cultural, and military elite.
Bohemian Grove always comes up in these contexts, doesn't it?
It does. This secretive gathering of powerful men is portrayed not as an exclusive club for relaxation, but as a site for dark, ritualistic activities.
Makow details specific alleged activities: satanic rituals, implications of human ritual sacrifice, and the notorious cremation of Care ceremony, which involved the burning of an effigy of Care at the foot of a giant owl statue.
The owl statue and the cremation of Care.
These rituals are presented as central to the activities of these global elites, a core part of their hidden practices, according to the book.
The claims escalate further with a quote from the Las Vegas woman, as presented in Makow's source, who alleges that world leaders belong to a satanic cult, are in fact alien reptilian species, and make sacrifices to owls.
Okay, now we're into reptilians. That's a whole other level.
This introduces a truly fantastical, yet deeply serious dimension to the conspiracy theory, connecting it to interdimensional entities and extraterrestrial influence.
Makow introduces the concept of Sangerians as a fourth dimension race, capable of shape-shifting and devouring human flesh and blood. He directly names Queen Elizabeth as a leading reptilian.
A queen. a leading reptilian.
And despite acknowledging that it sounds sci-fi and unbelievable,
Yeah.
he insists that everything fits within his comprehensive narrative, challenging conventional notions of reality and human origins.
The book also features a section titled Satanists and Their Perversions, which brings up Alex Jones's video, purportedly showing a baby's body being devoured at Bohemian Grove. While the source notes this is a claim from Alex Jones, it includes it as part of the alleged perversions associated with the group.
Using the Jones video claimed to underscore the horror. Makow further notes Richard Nixon's alleged comment about Bohemian Grove being faggy, providing a glimpse into the internal perceptions of the club by powerful figures.
Nixon's alleged comment. Interesting detail.
He also includes allegations of Project Monarch mind control operations and ritualistic trauma being linked to the underground, suggesting that these deep-seated perversions are not isolated incidents, but part of a structured hidden system of control and manipulation extending beyond the surface.
The implications section within the book connects Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor to the Belgian Club, which is described as a female elite group allegedly tied to Bohemian Grove.
A female equivalent to the Grove.
This suggests a parallel female network operating in conjunction with the male-dominated group, extending the reach of this alleged conspiracy into different spheres of power.
The section concludes by linking 9/11 and other world events back to Satanist central bankers and the protocols of the Elders of Zion. Makow asserts that these events are designed to pressure governments into disowning debt and nationalizing central banks,
So 9/11 was about nationalizing banks.
implying that the overarching plan involves a complete restructuring of global finance and governance under Illuminati control, a shift towards a truly globalized, centralized power. Hashtag Tag 2.12 Australian Adept unveiled world satanic control.
Our deep dive concludes this section with a particularly dramatic account. The deathbed confession of an individual identified as Frater 616, also known as Peter Narsaganen. This figure is alleged to be the former head of a Satanist Alpha Lodge in Sydney, and his confession supposedly unveiled a vast network of satanic power operating globally.
A deathbed confession,
Yeah.
always compelling if true.
Exactly. Frater 616's purported confession claims widespread Satanism throughout Australia, infiltrating various professions including politicians, doctors, military, media, and social workers.
Across the board, he allegedly joined a satanic group in 1971 and engaged in black arts, which Makow details as divination, meditation, sacrifice, sexual vampirism, and the performance of a black mass orgy, painting a picture of an active and pervasive occult network operating within seemingly normal society.
Makow further lists prominent figures allegedly linked to a U.S.-based Church of Satan, including historical and cultural icons such as J.P. Morgan, Elvis Presley, Ronald Reagan, George Lucas, and Gerald Ford.
Reagan and Elvis,
Yeah.
members of the Church of Satan. That's a huge claim.
This broad list aims to connect the alleged satanic influence to diverse and powerful sectors of American society across finance, entertainment, and politics.
The book asserts that U.S. military and intelligence agencies have been infiltrated by Satanists, specifically naming Royal Arch Freemasons as key figures in this alleged subversion. This implies a compromise of national security and a betrayal of public trust at the highest levels.
Makow claims that brothels and porn are not merely aspects of the sex industry, but are part of an international satanic empire, specifically used as tools for blackmail.
Using porn for blackmail. This suggests a calculated use of illicit activities to compromise and control individuals within positions of power, ensuring their obedience through compromising material.
Henry Kissinger is brought into this narrative, with Makow claiming that he allegedly promoted fundamentalist Christianity not out of genuine faith, but to provoke war.
Promoting Christianity to cause war. That's quite the twist.
He is also accused of refining Hitler's terror technique, implying a continuation of brutal methods of control, and is said to use this to move people to more gross and hideous behaviors, suggesting a deliberate strategy of dehumanization.
The alleged aims of the Alpha Lodge are particularly chilling: to cause 66% illiteracy by 2010 and to destroy 70% of the globe's population by 2030.
70% depopulation by 2030. These claims suggest a long-term genocidal plan by the alleged satanic elite, targeting both intellectual capacity and human lives on a massive global scale.
The section concludes with Makow's assertions that most governments count on their sheeple to respond to infantile fanaticism, implying that the general populace is easily manipulated. He unequivocally states that Illuminati Satanists are behind 9/11 and that Mossad provided the mass destruction rationale for Iraq invasion, with the Illuminati using Israel to influence U.S. foreign policy.
So Israel, Mossad, 9/11, Iraq, all tied together under Illuminati Satanists.
This weaves a complex web of global events and agencies into a single overarching satanic conspiracy, leaving no major event untouched by their alleged influence, according to the source.
Now we move into Makow's claims regarding social engineering and cultural subversion, starting with a truly remarkable set of alleged predictions. The source introduces Dr. Richard Day, identified as the National Medical Director of Rockefeller-sponsored Planned Parenthood, who in 1969 supposedly made a series of predictions about future societal changes to a group of doctors.
1969 predictions.
Oh.
What did he supposedly say?
Among these predictions were severe restrictions on travel, including the future need for permission and ID cards to move freely, a striking foretelling of modern security measures.
Wow, predicting travel restrictions and IDs back in '69. Day allegedly outlined a comprehensive state plan that involved American industry being sabotaged to facilitate a global unified system.
Sabotaging U.S. industry.
This plan purportedly included a deliberate shift in the U.S. from a manufacturing economy to a service-based one, a transformation that would, he claimed, cause patriotism to go down the drain. This is presented as a deliberate weakening of national identity for a globalist agenda controlled by these hidden forces.
The predictions become even more specific and controversial in the social sphere. Day allegedly foretold that homosexuals will be given permission to act out and that everyone, including the elderly, will be encouraged to have sex.
Permission to act out. Strange phrasing.
The book links this directly to the 1969 Stonewall riots and the subsequent gay rights movement, implying that these were not organic social changes, but rather engineered outcomes to break down traditional norms. He also allegedly predicted sexual activity occurring in laboratories, hinting at a future where procreation might be decoupled from natural human relations.
The purported predictions continued. Women would be encouraged to work outside the home, sports would replace dolls, and girls would be specifically taught to be boys, dissolving traditional gender roles.
Teaching girls to be boys.
Furthermore, pornography and obscenity were predicted to proliferate on TV and in movies, serving as tools for indoctrination and to lower moral standards. This vision paints a picture of a society where traditional gender roles are dissolved and sexual norms are radically altered through media influence, all part of the overarching plan.
The alleged predictions extend to economic and health spheres, painting an even darker picture. Day allegedly spoke of widespread unemployment and mass migration, intentionally designed to uproot established conservative communities and disrupt social cohesion.
Using migration to break up communities.
Most chillingly, he claimed that cancer already existed in the Rockefeller Institute as a depopulation tool, alongside the deliberate creation of infectious man-made diseases, implying a hidden agenda of population control through manufactured illness.
Cancer as a depopulation tool. That's an incredibly dark claim. The predictions delve into environmental and food control, with Day allegedly foreseeing weather modification, engineered famine, and stringent food monitoring, where even growing your own food would eventually be outlawed, leading to complete dependence.
Outlawing growing your own food.
Information itself would become a tool of control, with people controlled by means of information, books altered to rewrite history, and private homeownership disappearing, replacing individual autonomy with collective living.
The section concludes with a chilling ultimate prediction attributed to Dr. Day, that people who don't want to go along will be disposed of humanely.
Disposed of humanely, a truly sinister phrase.
This suggests a ruthless enforcement of the new societal order, eliminating dissent. Makow explicitly links the 1960s radicals who pushed for countercultural changes to this alleged plan, asserting that they sold their soul to the devil, leading directly to Illuminati and Satan worship, implying their actions were orchestrated to further this dark agenda. Hashtag 3.2 psychological warfare against society. Our deep dive continues into the chilling concept of psychological warfare against society, beginning with a document Makow calls Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. He claims this document confirms the existence of a satanic cult headquarters located in London, which is allegedly dedicated to keeping mankind in bondage using psychological warfare.
Silent Weapons, Quiet Wars. It paints a picture of a hidden, insidious war against the human mind, waged subtly and without overt conflict. This weapon, as described in the document, purportedly makes people uncomprehending to the subtle manipulations being enacted upon them, preventing them from understanding their own subjugation.
So you don't even realize you're being manipulated.
Exactly. Makow traces its alleged origin to operations research, developed during World War II, claiming these military strategies were later adapted and applied to social and psychological warfare, creating a systematic approach to mass manipulation and control over populations.
The document, according to Makow, reveals that an international elite has been using irresponsible wealth since 1954 to wage this silent war against the American people. He claims they view humanity as mere beasts of burden and animals who will not use their intelligence,
Dehumanizing the population to justify controlling them.
and this dehumanizing view justifies, in their alleged perspective, the extensive control and manipulation of the population, seeing them as little more than livestock.
The book claims that the economy is designed to be totally predictable and manipulatable through this psychological warfare, ensuring that financial systems serve the controller's ends. Furthermore, the family unit must be disintegrated as a strategic objective.
Destroying the family unit, a recurring theme.
With government-operated daycare centers cited as a primary tool for achieving this, thereby weakening the core social structure and transferring allegiance from family to state.
A central strategy described is diversion, the primary strategy, controlling the public by keeping them undisciplined, ignorant, confused, disorganized, and distracted. Makow alleges that real social issues are deliberately diverted by a constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media,
Distraction through media overload.
leading to what he terms mental and emotional rape, a profound and debilitating assault on the collective psyche, preventing critical thought and action.
The welfare state is presented as a strategic weapon in this war, designed to perpetuate dependency and make the human god the politician, effectively replacing spiritual or moral authority with state control.
So welfare creates dependency on the state, not empowerment.
This system, according to Makow, makes people reliant on the government, thus ensuring their obedience and preventing independent action.
Makow also delves into brainwashing, citing the Soviet Art of Brainwashing textbook from the 1930s, which he claims was allegedly used in both the U.S. and Russia.
A Soviet brainwashing manual used in the U.S.
He asserts that psychological operatives like psychiatrists and social workers are instrumental in bringing about the satanic goal, implying a coordinated effort across professions to implement this brainwashing on a mass scale.
This section concludes with a chilling prediction from Aldous Huxley's 1961 work, cited in the source, foreseeing the final revolution of a painless concentration camp. This future society, according to Makow's interpretation, would be achieved not through overt force, but through propaganda and brainwashing.
A concentration camp you don't even realize you're in.
Creating a populace so conditioned that they willingly embrace their servitude, making it seem like the path of least resistance. A truly terrifying vision of control presented here. Hashtag tag 3.3 bankers were behind the counterculture.
Our deep dive into Makow's world now presents a provocative claim that large corporations' economic objectives are inextricably tied to social engineering. He alleges that the hidden hand of the central banking cartel manipulates both finances and society itself to achieve its goals.
A unified strategy of control, finance, and culture working together. Makow asserts that London bankers are at the heart of this control, not only managing vast cartels, but also actively falsifying money.
Falsifying money.
This implies a deliberate manipulation of the global financial system to serve their private interests and hidden agenda, rather than legitimate economic principles, giving them immense power behind the scenes.
To bolster this claim, Makow introduces Dope, Inc., a 1992 book by the Executive Intelligence Review. This publication, he claims, extensively exposes the occult and criminal character of these bankers,
Suggesting their motivations go beyond just money, into crime and the occult.
Exactly. Makow controversially claims that the bankers' true religion is not Anglican Christianity, as one might assume given their historical presence in London, but rather paganism and satanic cults. He further alleges that corporate logos and advertising are not just about branding, but covertly contain occult social messages.
Hidden messages in ads and logo.
Designed to promote agendas like sex liberation and feminism, subtly influencing societal norms through commercial means.
This alleged hidden agenda, according to Makow, manifests directly in the cultural landscape. The New Age counterculture of the 1960s, typically seen as a grassroots movement for peace and self-expression, is here reframed as a literal resurrection of the cult, meaning the ancient pagan and satanic cults.
So the whole 60s counterculture was engineered Satanism.
That's the implication, that the entire movement was engineered for subversive purposes, rather than being an organic social phenomenon. Makow delves into popular culture brainwashing and cites the Aquarian conspiracy, claiming that all cultural products, music, TV, and movies are meticulously controlled by the Illuminati.
Total media control.
This suggests that the entertainment we consume is not merely for leisure, but serves as a constant, subtle indoctrination tool, shaping our thoughts and beliefs without our awareness.
A prominent example used to illustrate this alleged cultural control is the Beatles. Makow claims their appearance on Ed Sullivan, which famously launched them into American superstardom, was part of an orchestrated plan.
The Beatles as agents of the Illuminati.
Their music, combining rock with mystical themes, is scrutinized for alleged hidden drug references. Yellow Submarine for LSD, Hey Jude for methadone, Strawberry Fields for opium, and even Norwegian Wood for marijuana. He reinterprets their songs as vehicles for promoting drug use and subversion.
John Lennon's iconic song, Imagine, is singled out as allegedly attacking religion and openly promoting a one-world government, aligning with the Illuminati's purported New World Order agenda.
Imagine as anti-religion, pro-NWO propaganda.
This reframes a song widely considered a peace anthem as a piece of propaganda designed to undermine traditional societal structures and beliefs, making it a tool of the very system it seemingly opposes.
The section concludes by bringing in Aldous Huxley's dystopian novel, Brave New World. Makow presents this literary work not as a cautionary tale, but as a blueprint, a tool of a banker brain trust designed to create a scientifically managed society.
Brave New World is a plan, not a warning.
This society is allegedly run by change agents, identified as a broad group including Jews, Marxists, socialists, liberals, and New Agers, all working to dismantle established norms and usher in this controlled future, a truly comprehensive conspiracy theory presented here. Hashtag 3.4, the CIA was behind drug culture. We now encounter a truly striking claim within Makow's source material, that the CIA in the 1950s actively experimented with LSD not just for interrogation purposes, but as a form of weaponry.
LSD is a weapon.
The book then extends this, asserting that the agency subsequently neutralized social activists and anti-war movements by transforming them into flower children who unwittingly promoted peace and love. This implies that the counterculture movement, often seen as organic, was in fact orchestrated to pacify dissent.
So turning activists into harmless hippies using LSD. Makow specifically targets Timothy Leary, the counterculture icon, stating that his famous mantra, tune in, turn on, and drop out, was not an original thought, but part of a larger design.
Leary wasn't independent.
He alleges that Leary secretly worked for the CIA and received government money to promote the New World Order agenda, painting him as a controlled asset rather than an independent figure of rebellion.
The influence, according to Makow, extended beyond just the CIA. He implicates British intelligence and London-based central bankers as key players in this alleged manipulation, portraying them as the true orchestrators behind the scenes.
The London bankers again. The CIA itself is described as composed of radical liberals and is even labeled the best mafia of the 20th century, highlighting its alleged ruthlessness and far-reaching power.
Makow also claims that various seemingly humanitarian or social movements were also manipulated. He speaks of a generation of marionettes, asserting that children were allegedly used for orchestrated marches, food relief efforts, and even the Negro civil rights movement.
Children used as puppets in social movements.
Implying these were not genuine grassroots efforts, but rather tools for a hidden agenda controlled from above.
The narrative continues by claiming that the entire anti-war movement and the iconic Summer of Love in 1967 were not spontaneous expressions of social change, but rather meticulously orchestrated events.
The Summer of Love, orchestrated.
This suggests a deep level of control over cultural phenomena, steering social unrest in directions that serve the Illuminati's goals of social engineering, all part of a larger plan he presents.
LSD is further characterized as a tool to expand the mind and induce a genuine visionary experience, but used for manipulative purposes. Makow alleges that Timothy Leary met with Cord Meyer and Mary Pincham Myers, and controversially claims that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated because they couldn't control him anymore.
The JFK assassination linked to Leary and mind control. That's a heavy claim, implying his death was a direct consequence of his resistance to this powerful hidden network.
The overarching message presented in this section, and indeed throughout much of Makow's source, is a profound one. Popular culture, from its music to its social movements, is mostly propaganda and social engineering. The book concludes by reinforcing the idea that bankers, those at the top of the alleged Illuminati structure, are pulling our strings.
Portraying humanity as mere puppets in a grand, controlled experiment. That's the takeaway here.
We now turn to a highly contentious area of Makow's claims, focusing on alleged perversions and subversions within society. The source introduces a purported social engineering campaign from 1949 with the explicit aim to destroy the institution of marriage and family.
Destroying marriage since 1949.
This was allegedly achieved by deliberately separating sex from love and marriage, an ideology termed as sexual liberation, and by teaching young women to prioritize careers and casual sex. The media in this narrative is accused of actively promoting self-destructive behavior.
Makow cites Norma Klein's books, claiming they teach that women's chores and domestic roles stem from religious superstition, thereby encouraging a rejection of traditional gender expectations. This is presented as part of the broader effort to dismantle the family unit.
The book then connects this to the Sabbateans, whom it describes as a sex cult that historically promoted premarital sex and wife-swapping. It makes the controversial claim that liberal Jews, through their embrace of sexual liberation, are allegedly unconscious of the Luciferian role they are playing.
So liberal Jews are unwitting agents of Satanism here.
Suggesting they are furthering this agenda without realizing it, pushing society towards depravity, according to the text.
The controversial book The Joy of Sex is cited, with Makow claiming its proliferation is linked to pervasive Jewishness. The book asserts that marriage, divorce, abortion, feminism, and the inclusion of gay characters in media are all deliberately designed to undermine our social institutions and humanity.
So all those things are attacks.
Portraying them as calculated attacks on traditional societal structures, rather than genuine social evolution or individual rights.
Makow posits a profound and unsettling consequence of this alleged sexual liberation, stating that sex without love is body without soul. He argues that engaging in physical intimacy without emotional connection or commitment is inherently self-destructive,
Leading to spiritual emptiness, not liberation.
ultimately diminishing the human experience, in his view.
To highlight the alleged depth of this cultural degradation, Makow points to Charlotte Roche's novel Wetlands as an example of promoting disgusting things for attention.
Right.
He claims that such works fulfill a satanic duty to inure us to the ugly, disgusting, and obscene,
Normalizing the disgusting.
thereby eroding natural revulsion to shocking content, pushing the boundaries of what is considered acceptable. Hashtag tag 4.2 porn watching bruised, drugged prostitutes.
Our deep dive into the book's claims of perversion now focuses on pornography, which Makow portrays in the most brutal and disturbing terms. He claims that porn videos often depict the harrowing reality of bruised, drugged prostitutes, and that actors are allegedly forced into sexual acts.
Suggesting coercion and exploitation behind the scenes, not consent.
Exactly. Makow further details the alleged use of drugs like Xanax and Vicodin within the porn industry, stating that porn stars purportedly take these substances to appear to feel pain during their performances.
Taking drugs to fake pain, that's a truly disturbing allegation about the industry.
Indicating a severe and disturbing level of abuse and manipulation on set. This paints a picture of controlled agony rather than consensual pleasure.
The book then connects the widespread consumption of porn to a terrifying consequence: the proliferation of sexual diseases at a pandemic level, including HIV/AIDS. He specifically mentions Jenny Tetlock's case as an example of individuals suffering from severe health issues and highlights the HPV virus.
Linking porn directly to pandemics.
Linking these health crises directly to the alleged depravity of the porn industry and its wider societal acceptance. The author, Henry Makow, concludes this segment with a poignant personal statement, reflecting on the generational shift he perceives.
What does he say?
He states, "My new generation have been conditioned to accept porn from a young age," highlighting what he views as a deeply negative and pervasive societal impact that has profoundly damaged the image and value of women, leading to a desensitized and dispirited populace, in his opinion. Hashtag tag Shover 4.3 rock music's satanic message.
Our exploration of cultural subversion continues with rock music, which Makow explicitly describes as a powerful tool for brainwashing and mind control. He alleges that rock music expresses the satanic principle of do as thou wilt, promoting a dark agenda of drugs, violence, murder, and mayhem.
While also encouraging listeners to believe you are God. It's presented as this dual message: corruption and eco-inflation.
Leading individuals away from traditional morality.
The book claims that certain concert scenes resemble a Nuremberg rally, depicting massive, almost fanatical gatherings. Within these events, Makow points to the alleged display of a horned goat sign, which he identifies as a symbol for Satan,
The horn goat sign at concerts.
indicating a hidden, dark, spiritual undercurrent to the music, openly displayed for those who understand, according to the text.
The narrative then links the music industry directly to the alleged Illuminati central banking cartel, claiming they control major corporations. This control, Makow asserts, is used to promote communism and the destruction of Western civilization.
Citing the Red Symphony document as evidence for this elaborate, hidden plan to undermine society, using cultural channels as a stealth weapon.
Makow details claims that the music industry itself is controlled by the mob and that performers are brainwashed, suggesting they are mere pawns in a larger scheme.
Their creativity and personas manipulated. Popular culture as a whole is presented as a means to shape our experience, turning people into mice in someone else's lab experiment.
Mice in a lab, implying pervasive manipulation through media.
With artists as unwitting collaborators in this view.
The section concludes with a dire warning from Makow that society cannot eschew God and, as presented by the author, is too willing to go along with the degradation. This implies a collective complacency that allows the alleged satanic agenda to advance unchecked,
Leading to humanity's spiritual and moral downfall by simply accepting what is presented to them, as the book argues.
Yeah.
Hashtag 4.4 FKMom for Mother's Day NBC Saturday Night Live.
We now turn to another specific example of alleged cultural subversion, this time from the realm of television. Makow highlights a particular NBC Saturday Night Live Mother's Day song, focusing on lyrics that he interprets as overtly promoting incest.
An SNL song promoting incest.
This is presented as clear evidence of Illuminati subversion infiltrating mainstream entertainment to normalize truly depraved concepts under the guise of comedy.
Makow frames this within a broader media landscape, alleging the systematic promotion of new satanic norms by what he describes as liberal and progressive elements. These groups, Makow claims, are themselves bound up in Satanism,
So liberals and progressives are Satanists.
implying that their political and social agendas are directly linked to a Luciferian worldview, using media to propagate their beliefs, according to Makow.
The core claim, reiterated throughout this section, is that Western society is run by a satanic cult with a deliberate long-term objective, the gradual phasing out of Christianity and the ultimate triumph of secularism.
And again, secularism isn't neutral in this view.
Exactly. This secularism, in Makow's view, is not a neutral stance, but a mask for a satanic takeover, a step towards a new dark age.
The Illuminati's alleged goal is further explained as the desire to control and dominate every human being through two primary mechanisms: war and debt, to enslave populations economically, and sex as a primary weapon for degradation and enslavement.
Sex is a weapon.
This portrays sexual liberation as a tool for moral decay, designed to weaken individuals in society, making them easier to control and dehumanize.
This links directly to the sexual revolution, which Makow asserts was not an organic social movement, but a carefully controlled phenomenon. He claims that Illuminati-influenced education and media were the primary instruments used to propagate and normalize the ideas of sexual liberation,
Implying a deliberate, top-down engineering of social norms for sinister purposes. The section culminates in a stark and disturbing conclusion from Makow that modern sex is necrophilia.
Necrophilia, that's extreme.
This extreme statement serves to encapsulate the book's view of how far sexual norms have allegedly degenerated, framing contemporary intimacy as a form of spiritual death, completely devoid of genuine love or life-affirming purpose, a complete corruption of human connection, as he sees it. Hashtag 4.5 America's media-driven descent into depravity.
Our deep dive now examines the role of media in what Makow describes as America's media-driven descent into depravity. The book claims that over the past 20 years, TV programs have become increasingly obscene, featuring outrageous and shocking behavior as
Calculated degradation of public morality. Makow introduces the concept of cognitive dissonance as a psychological tool allegedly used by the media.
cognitive dissonance.
This is employed to gradually make depravity the new societal norm, forcing viewers to reconcile increasingly shocking content with their existing values until the outrageous becomes acceptable, chipping away at their moral compass.
The book uses the show My Name is Earl as a case study, noting its explicit themes of morality and karma. However, Makow contrasts these themes with what he alleges as systematic psychological warfare waged by figures like Jesse Helms.
Implying that even shows with seemingly positive messages are part of a larger manipulative media environment, serving a hidden purpose.
Makow highlights family anecdotes from My Name is Earl that feature themes of sex, infidelity, and violence, presenting them as examples of how such content is normalized within popular narratives. The media as a whole is accused of degrading the image of motherhood and family.
Ultimately serving the agenda of Illuminati-owned mass media to dismantle traditional societal structures, undermining the very concept of family, according to the source.
The book points to recurring themes across television programming, specifically mentioning incest, intergenerational, and gay-lesbian sex. These are presented as deliberate choices to desensitize viewers and push the boundaries of what is considered acceptable.
Rather than reflecting diverse lifestyles or artistic expression, it's framed as a systematic normalization of taboo.
The section concludes with Makow's profound implication that television shapes viewers' first glimpse of the outside world, effectively becoming the primary educator of societal norms. It suggests that TV programs define what the good life entails,
Thereby subtly indoctrinating audiences into the Illuminati's preferred worldview and values, making media the ultimate arbiter of reality in this perspective. Hashtag 4.6, our leaders are sex addicts.
We now turn to an explosive claim within Makow's source material, that brother Jews are deliberately entrusted with positions of power, not to govern justly, but specifically to destroy instructions and impose criminal charges.
That's incredibly specific and conspiratorial language, implying an internal subversion of governance.
Makow cites the Protocols of the Elders of Zion once again, referring to its claims about government by caricature and the foundation of power existing under the Goy peoples.
Reinforcing the narrative that visible governments are mere facades, controlled by a hidden hand manipulating the non-Jewish populace, the true power lying elsewhere.
The book asserts that the world is being systematically steered to fall into the central banker's outstretched hand, predicting a future where these powerful financial entities will seize total control.
An inevitable global economic and political takeover, orchestrated by the Illuminati through financial manipulation, is the claim. The Illuminati's alleged goal is depicted as the harvesting of fruits of centuries-old plot to destroy Christian civilization.
Destroying Christianity through.
This destruction is claimed to be achieved through the widespread promotion of greed, sex, violence, trivia, and political correctness, which are presented as tools for moral and societal decay, deliberately eroding the foundations of Western society.
Makow makes the deeply controversial claim that world leaders are not chosen based on merit, but are instead obedient, blackmailed perverts, selected specifically to destroy trust in government.
Blackmailed perverts running the world. President Bill Clinton is cited as an example of a banker confidant who was allegedly very helpful to this agenda, implying his sexual indiscretions were leveraged for control.
The narrative then delves into Rabbi Stephen Wise, described as a prominent American Zionist and Jewish leader, and his connection to the Rockefeller PBS website, which is controversially presented as a platform for greatest fighters for democracy who secretly serve the Illuminati.
Suggesting a deceptive alliance between apparent advocates for democracy and hidden forces, working in concert.
Makow includes highly explicit accounts from Helen Lawrenson, published in Stranger at the Party, detailing Wise's alleged sexual drive, and a disturbing Illuminati prayer after sex, which shockingly refers to the King of Glory as the penis.
A prayer referring to the penis as the King of Glory. This inclusion aims to link prominent figures directly to perverse occult rituals, asserting a connection between power and depravity.
The section concludes by asserting that a Sabbatean or Illuminati prayer after sex is explicitly linked to Illuminism, communism, Freemasonry, Zionism. The overarching claim is that the rulers of the world, both Jewish and non-Jewish, allegedly belong to a satanic sex cult,
implying a pervasive hidden network of power founded on depravity and occult practices, extending across different groups. That's the picture painted here. Hashtag 4.7 is pedophilia the next frontier.
Our deep dive now confronts one of the most disturbing claims within Makow's source material. The question, is pedophilia the next frontier? The book introduces Miley Cyrus's provocative photos, interpreting them not as mere celebrity antics, but as a calculated attack on the American psyche.
Framing pop culture as a deliberate weapon for social engineering. Makow then broadly discusses society's values, asserting that the current ruling class, including America, the Illuminati, Freemasonry, and the New World Order, is actively working to dismantle Christian civilization.
Providing the larger conspiratorial framework for interpreting the alleged promotion of pedophilia as part of a grander assault on traditional morality.
The book specifically scrutinizes Miley Cyrus and her father, Billy Ray Cyrus, questioning how they could become megastars without becoming pawns of the Illuminati. Makow highlights specific imagery like the sign of the devil, and uses this to call for people to recognize and resist these alleged symbols of occult influence.
The devil sign, seeing it as hidden communication.
Makow claims that society is undergoing a disturbing shift. While it continues to condemn and punish some pedophilia, it simultaneously promotes values originating from the New World Order. In this new order, sex is explicitly for its own sake, detached from love, marriage, or procreation.
Creating a moral vacuum that could allegedly open the door to further perversions, normalizing previously unacceptable behaviors.
The book alleges that schools are teaching children to have sex as young as 13, and that MTV actively promotes this as the greatest value, suggesting a direct indoctrination of youth into a sexually liberated and potentially perverse lifestyle.
Finally, Makow claims that gay organizations are allegedly pushing to lower the age of consent, further implying a move towards normalizing child sexual abuse. The Devil's Salute, performed using specific hand gestures, is also highlighted as another covert symbol,
reinforcing the idea that these changes are orchestrated by a hidden, malevolent force signaling their agenda, according to the source. Hashtag tag 4.8 times of London touts sibling incest.
Our deep dive into alleged perversions continues with a specific media example from Makow's source, a July 2008 feature in the Times of London, provocatively titled, "I had sex with my brother and I don't feel guilty."
An article promoting incest in the Times. That's a bold claim.
This article is presented as a stark indication of a societal shift engineered by the Illuminati, deliberately pushing boundaries.
Makow explicitly frames this article as an example of how the Illuminati changes societal norms, gradually desensitizing the public to what was once taboo. He claims that the Times of London has, for over 100 years, represented a view that is not conservative, but is instead Luciferian, i.e. satanic.
The Times as Luciferian.
Implying a long-standing hidden agenda guiding the newspaper's editorial stance, undermining traditional values, according to this view.
The Illuminati's alleged goal, as stated in the book, is to re-engineer humanity and systematically destroy the traditional family by undermining this social institution. The promotion of incest, therefore, is presented as a deliberate tactic to dismantle the very fabric of familial bonds,
eroding the most fundamental human relationships. Reader comments cited in the source further illustrate the alleged normalization, including one stating, "Not my place to judge," and another suggesting that as long as siblings are willing and aware of what they are doing, it should be okay.
These comments are used to demonstrate how the public is being conditioned to accept previously unthinkable behaviors, reflecting a breakdown of moral barriers, as Makow presents it.
The book also mentions the Tavistock PSYOP, linking it to the article, and names Joan McFadden and Daniel, who allegedly experienced an overriding sensation of pleasure during their incestuous encounter,
Portraying incest as pleasurable to normalize it.
This aims to legitimize the concept of incest within the narrative by portraying it as pleasurable, further pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable. The section concludes with Makow's assertion that the Illuminati will promote incest as a calculated means to destroy the traditional family, and specifically break down the barrier to sibling incest.
He directly claims the Times of London is owned by Rupert Murdoch and the Rothschild family, and identifies Leon Blum, a former French prime minister, as an Illuminati cutout,
thereby linking powerful media, finance, and political figures to this agenda of societal degradation, as presented in the source. Hashtag 4.9 Charlotte Roche's mental breakdown and ours.
Our deep dive now dissects Charlotte Roche's controversial 2008 novel, Wetlands, which Makow describes as a disgusting, brutal assault on women and girls. This literary work is presented not as a piece of fiction, but as an active tool of alleged subversion.
Real hate literature. That's how he frames it. Makow frames Wetlands as embodying the true Luciferian meaning of revolutionary and progressive. He claims the novel's purpose is to destroy everything natural, healthy, and wholesome,
Making the perverse appear normal and desirable, inverting societal values.
Makow elaborates on the book's alleged promotion of a degenerate woman and its role in hammering the last nail into the coffin of femininity. Amazon reviews are cited, highlighting the intensely graphic nature of the novel, which is used to support the claim that its shock value serves a destructive purpose.
Deliberately assaulting the concept of womanhood.
Makow states that Roche creates a new vocabulary to describe depravity in positive terms. This linguistic manipulation is presented as a crucial part of the social engineering, making the ugly and obscene seem acceptable or even desirable by changing the language used to describe them.
This section ties into a broader theme Makow calls self-loathing. He asserts that feminism, by allegedly depriving them of their natural identity, has led women to react with self-loathing, viewing their natural bodies and femininity with disgust.
Which is then amplified by works like Roche's novel, presented as a deliberate strategy to create self-alienation. Makow contrasts Christian civilization's view of bodies as temples of the soul and spiritual ideals for refining oneself with Roche's alleged satanic duty to inure us to the ugly, disgusting, and obscene.
Framing the novel as a direct assault on spiritual values.
Aiming to desensitize humanity to depravity and corrupt the soul, moving towards a more base existence, according to Makow's interpretation. Hashtag 4.1 human rights, a higher form of discrimination.
We now turn to a segment of the book that redefines a fundamental concept, human rights. Makow claims that human rights is nothing more than Orwellian doublespeak, a deceptive term designed to give rights to some groups while simultaneously taking them away from others.
Specifically, taking rights from the traditional majority, he alleges. Makow alleges that atheists, Jews, Muslims, and homosexuals don't truly have human rights, implying that the concept is selectively applied. He asserts that Masonic concepts of human rights and tolerance became dominant in countries like the U.S., Mexico, and the USSR,
Leading to
the closure of Christian schools and the burning of churches, suggesting a deliberate targeting of Christian institutions under the guise of progress.
The book cites an example of subtle coercion in Winnipeg, mentioning a Jewish MD and a female Muslim MD who allegedly faced pressure. This anecdotal evidence is used to suggest a hidden discriminatory agenda at play, even in everyday professional interactions.
Highlighting an alleged bias against non-Masonic, traditional individuals, an insidious form of control presented here. Makow claims that medical associations are pushing orientation courses and genderless rights, suggesting a systematic effort to dismantle traditional gender identity and sexuality within the medical profession.
He also alleges that Rockefeller-based elitists are actively undermining heterosexuality, implying a powerful, coordinated effort to reshape fundamental human relationships.
The atheist campaign, often framed as a movement for secularism, is presented in Makow's source as a front for the Illuminati cult. It is called an affront to 72% of Canadians who believe in God.
So atheism is an Illuminati front attacking believers.
Suggesting that this campaign is not about religious freedom, but a covert attack on religious belief to pave the way for Luciferian rule, part of a larger spiritual war he describes. The section concludes by asserting that Luciferian hatred against God is the driving force behind this campaign for human rights, which is ultimately described as globalist social engineering and discrimination.
So human rights becomes a tool of satanic discrimination.
This final claim redefines human rights as a tool of a malevolent anti-God agenda designed to divide and control society, twisting a noble concept into a weapon, according to this text. Hashtag 4.11, the truth about diversity.
Our deep dive into Makow's claims of social engineering now focuses on the concept of diversity. The book opens with the stark assertion that diversity has a destructive nature and is, in fact, a long-term behavior modification program that uses minorities to disinherit the majority.
Wow, reframing diversity as a weapon to disinherit the majority. That's a very direct claim. Makow explicitly labels diversity as New World Order doublespeak, stating it's designed to dilute and discriminate against the white, heterosexual Christian majority.
So diversity initiatives are actually discrimination against the majority, in this view.
This reinterprets diversity initiatives as a deliberate strategy to weaken and marginalize the dominant demographic groups, in line with the Illuminati's alleged agenda of societal restructuring. The book claims that a private cartel's power is exercised through the implementation of diversity training.
Diversity training as a tool of power.
It cites an example from Seeing Ourselves, exploring race, ethnicity, and culture, describing the shaming of whites during these sessions as a deliberate tactic to instill guilt and facilitate a transfer of power, a psychological operation.
Makow describes an alleged interaction with a diversity trainer named Greg, who purportedly used the norm to make people acknowledge his race privilege and an invisible package of unearned assets. The book claims that these sessions are based on the premise that whites naturally oppress other people.
Framing diversity training as a mechanism for collective guilt and disempowerment, a form of systemic blame imposed on one group.
The book characterizes these diversity sessions as guilt trips imposed on whites, meticulously designed to make them yield power. This implies that the true objective is not equality, but a systematic redistribution of influence achieved through psychological manipulation.
Makow highlights the irony that the central banking clique, which he claims is predominantly white and Christian, is itself orchestrating this guilt trip on whites. He notes that the U.S. population is 75% white and Christian, with a plan for whites to become a minority by 2050.
So the white elite is making white people feel guilty to disempower them and planning demographic change.
This is presented as a deliberate demographic shift orchestrated for control, a long-term strategy of demographic change, according to the book.
The section concludes with Makow's assertion that central bankers utilize a divide-and-conquer strategy to undermine what he calls the 4 pillars of identity: race, religion, nation, family. He also notes that the term politically correct originated in the Communist Party USSR.
And claims that bankers secretly control the USA, Canada, and Europe, tying these social movements to a global communist and Illuminati agenda, a truly comprehensive claim of control presented in the source. Hashtag tagged 4.1 found Canada pimps its girls to big pharma.
Our deep dive now brings us to a particularly alarming set of claims within Makow's source material, focusing on Canada's HPV vaccination campaign. The book introduces the HPV virus and its alleged link to degenerative muscle disease, citing the case of 13-year-old Jenny Tetlock as an example of severe adverse reactions.
Raising immediate concerns about vaccine safety right from the start, Makow details the Canadian government's $300 million vaccination campaign targeting young girls. He makes the controversial claim that the Gardasil vaccine is only effective on girls with no sexual experience,
Implying it promotes promiscuity.
leading to the implication that the campaign inadvertently promotes promiscuity by suggesting that once vaccinated, girls are safe to engage in sexual activity, regardless of prior experience, a morally dubious message presented here.
The book alleges that politicians framed this campaign of pimping these girls as protecting public health, thereby masking what Makow views as a deeper, more nefarious agenda. Merck Frost, the vaccine manufacturer, is portrayed as a powerful lobbyist.
Accused of influencing government policy for financial gain rather than public well-being, prioritizing profit over health in this narrative. Makow describes the vaccination campaign as a boondoggle with many negative effects, citing a McGill University epidemiologist who called the program premature with unintended negative consequences.
Questioning the science and motives behind it.
This suggests a lack of proper scientific rigor and a disregard for potential harm, according to the source. The book further claims that most HPV infections clear spontaneously and that clinical trials for the vaccine were insufficient. He cites the U.S. National Vaccine Information Center, NVIC, which reportedly documented 385 adverse reactions to Gardasil.
Specific adverse reactions are listed, including children collapsing, facial paralysis, and Guillain-Barré syndrome linked to the vaccines. Judicial Watch is also cited as reporting over 1,600 adverse reactions and 2 deaths attributed to Gardasil in May 2007.
Further building the case against the vaccine's safety, as presented by Makow. Makow describes the situation in Toronto as insanity, where 40,000 young girls were allegedly pressured to receive 3 injections of the vaccine,
Portraying the campaign as coercive, not voluntary.
The section concludes with Makow's assertion that the entire campaign operates on the unstated and outrageous assumption that promiscuity is the norm. He states that this is gross manipulation primarily for enriching corporations and is presented as a component of the overarching New World Order agenda.
Implying public health is being exploited for corporate profit and social engineering.
A very cynical view of public health initiatives presented in the book. Hashtag tag 4.13 movie Avatar, the Illuminati and the Raelian Connection.
We now embark on one of the most fantastical yet intricately woven claims in Makow's source. The assertion that James Cameron's blockbuster movie Avatar is not merely entertainment, but is directly connected to the Raelian cult, which believes in alien intervention.
Avatar and the Raelians. Okay, the movie itself is presented as a form of predictive programming, preparing the populace for future manipulations and belief systems.
Makow cites research alleging several thousand Illuminati-connected celebrities and politicians are linked to the Raelians, described as an atheist alien religion to encompass all religions. This suggests a powerful, covert network influencing global culture.
He specifically mentions Raelian Maitreya and Igor Angrada as having a significant Facebook presence, hinting at their digital footprint as part of this network.
The book goes on to list an extensive array of alleged Illuminati bankers and celebrities purportedly linked to aliens, including the Rothschild family, Rockefeller, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Ehud Olmert, Onassis, and members of the Bilderberg Group.
A huge list of names. Furthermore, it claims that James Cameron's own Facebook page allegedly shows friends like Anthony Hopkins, Jennifer Aniston, Phil Collins, Johnny Depp, various musicians, politicians like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Benjamin Netanyahu, and even Queen Elizabeth,
Implying a vast network of connections at the highest levels of global influence across various sectors, all tied to this.
The Rewillian connection is further explained. Realism promotes the dogma that humans on Earth were genetically engineered by aliens, aligning with Avatar's narrative, which, according to Makow, depicts scientific alien lab constructs,
So the movie is basically Raelian propaganda.
suggesting that the movie serves as a visual primer for a belief system that fundamentally alters humanity's understanding of its origins, preparing them for a new truth.
The film's themes are meticulously analyzed in Makow's source. Pantheism, planetary energy flows, animism, mother goddess, sacred trees, telepathic sight, shamanic healing. What's striking is how Avatar is then portrayed as a red, powerful dragon with winged reptilian hordes and red-eyed black beasts.
Which Makow connects to imagery from the Book of Revelations, implying a hidden apocalyptic and satanic meaning behind the film, a form of subtle indoctrination.
Makow points out that Raelians condemn marriage and traditional family structures as repressive, actively promoting promiscuous sex as liberating.
Aligning the Raelian agenda with the broader themes of sexual subversion discussed earlier, suggesting a coordinated attack on traditional family values.
The narrative introduces ex-Raelian Daniel Vendange, who allegedly reveals Luciferian global plans. His testimony is crucial. Raelism, he claims, promotes the idea that truth, God, is replaced by aliens, and that Satan, God, is a reversed concept within their ideology.
God replaced by aliens. Satan is God. A fundamental inversion of traditional religion. The biblical description of Lucifer as misplaced pride is referenced, and his goal is to corrupt and demonize God's creation. This connects to the Jewish satanic lie and half-breed alien concepts, which Makow relates to Masonic and Raelian respect for Lucifer.
Vendange's claims extend to alleged cloning, linked to clomade.com, Tesla HARP technology for weather control, 247 remote satellite surveillance, the establishment of a World Federation government, and universal education.
Presenting a comprehensive blueprint for global control, a truly all-encompassing conspiracy detailed here.
This segment culminates in Rael's vision of a geniocracy, which is described as a rule by illuminated geniuses, with Thomas Jefferson even being cited as an alleged advocate for this natural aristocracy. Makow also brings in Serge Monist's 1994 claim about NASA's Project Bluebeam.
Project Bluebeam, the fake alien invasion or second coming scenario.
Described as a global light show designed to pretend to manifest the return of the Messiah from outer space. All of this, Makow asserts, is part of the Illuminati's larger plan to construct a monstrous hoax, manipulating humanity's spiritual beliefs for their ultimate control.
Presenting a grand deception on a global scale using aliens and technology. That's the claim.
We arrive at what Makow presents as the most provocative and controversial section of his book, directly addressing the question posed by the source: is Lucifer the god of Judaism?
A truly inflammatory question to frame a section around. The book, through henrymakow.com and Will Newman, lays out alleged claims linking Jewish synagogues, Talmudism, Kabbalah, B'nai B'rith, and Masonry, suggesting a hidden, unified, and sinister spiritual lineage.
The source presents a highly inflammatory claim from an alleged 1976 interview with Harold Rosenthal, who was reportedly an assistant to Senator Jacob Javits. In this interview, Rosenthal purportedly stated, "Our God is Lucifer."
A direct quote attributed to him, claiming Lucifer is the god of Judaism. It's a shocking assertion presented in the book.
Makow delves into Rosenthal's alleged claims that Jews are not the Israelites referred to in biblical texts, nor are they God's chosen people, effectively severing their traditional spiritual lineage.
This is contrasted with Lucifer's purported goal to be like the Most High and to deceive the world, implying a deliberate deception at the heart of Jewish faith, a complete inversion of traditional scripture as presented here. Freemasons are depicted within this narrative as being able to transform himself into angel of light, a biblical reference used to suggest their deceptive nature.
Appearing good while serving evil.
Serving a darker master, specifically Lucifer. This reinforces the idea that what seems good or neutral is actually a subtle tool of subversion, masking dark intent.
The source interprets the Hebrew word Hillel, often translated as morning star or bright light, as directly referring to Lucifer in Hebrew. Furthermore, Kabbalism's central text, the Zohar, which means book of brightness or splendor, is also linked to this Luciferian light.
Drawing a direct linguistic and mystical connection between Judaism and satanic worship, according to Makow's interpretation. The Jewish six-pointed star, commonly known as the Star of David, is presented as the highest symbol in the occult, implying that a widely recognized religious symbol is, in fact, a powerful emblem of dark magic.
The Star of David as an occult symbol.
The Enlightenment and the Eye of Horus are also explicitly identified as Illuminati symbols, reinforcing the idea of a pervasive occult influence on historical movements and iconography, hiding in plain sight.
Finally, Makow concludes by discussing the Hebrew symbol often worn as a pendant, meaning life, which is called chai. The book suggests that this symbol can also be interpreted to mean living thing, beast, or idol for the beast,
implying a hidden, ominous meaning even in the word for life. He also touches on the significance of the Jewish name for God, YHVH, Yahweh, or Jehovah, hinting at further esoteric interpretations within this controversial framework, suggesting deeper layers of meaning asserted by the source. #NowThatro.
So what does this all mean? We've just taken a truly deep dive into Henry Makow's Illuminati 2, Deceit and Subduction, meticulously unpacking its intricate and often startling claims. We've explored how the book weaves together a narrative of global conspiracy, social engineering, and hidden agendas.
Connecting historical events, social movements, and powerful figures under a single overarching theory. It's quite a tapestry he weaves.
It really is.
This deep dive has offered you a thorough understanding of the specific arguments and alleged connections presented within this singular source. It's a prime example of a very particular lens through which some people view the world.
Definitely a particular lens.
Providing a unique insight into a detailed alternative explanation for why society functions as it does. It challenges conventional explanations at every turn, doesn't it?
It certainly gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? As you reflect on this journey into a deeply controversial worldview, consider how understanding different frameworks, even those that challenge conventional wisdom so radically, can reshape how you approach information and discern patterns in the world around you.
Yeah, how do you process information like this?
What stands out to you as the most surprising or thought-provoking claim presented within this particular narrative? And how might that influence the way you look at information in the future? What connections might you start to see?